afternoon and welcome to this edition of KTN News Desk. My name is Edith Kimani. It is July the 18th, officially the 100th day of the Jubilee government. Have they done what they had promised to? It's also Nelson Mandela's birthday. We'll give you all the fun facts about this man and the 6 to 7 minutes you're supposed to spend doing humanitarian work.
Right, and my name is Bonnie Tunya, and on this particular day, 3 witnesses pulled off the Uhuru ICC case. We'll give you the implications of that particular move. Stay tuned. Welcome to the program. The prosecution side of the International Criminal Court case against President Uhuru Kenyatta suffered yet another setback earlier today after 3 more witnesses against the president withdrew from the case, fearing for their security.
Now, Chief Prosecutor Fatu Bensouda has written to the trial judges Kuniko Ozaki, who is a presiding judge, and Robert Fremer, together with Chile Oboe Osuji, informing them to withdraw the 3 names from the list of those who will testify against Kenyatta.
Bensouda indicated the 3 no longer want to testify but asked the court to consider additional witnesses to build her case. Today's development put the prosecution side on an awkward situation as observers now weigh on how strong Bensouda's case is against Uhuru.
Is the strike on? Is it over? The children back to school? Are they not? Well, confusion appears to have reigned in most public primary schools in the country following yesterday's closure of public primary schools by the government and the calling off of the teachers' strike by the Kenya National Union of Teachers. In some schools, people did not show up, while in others, teachers reported to school, but there were no pupils. Education Cabinet Secretary Jacob Kaimenyi last night in a statement said the order to close schools still stands despite the calling off of the strike by NUT. The government says it will issue an order on when public primary schools should reopen. NUT officials called off their 23-day strike yesterday, moments after meeting Deputy President William Ruto. The union, which had vowed to continue with its strike until all its demands for commuter, house and medical allowances are met, settled for the 16.2 billion shillings offer on commuter allowances that the union had rejected on Sunday.
Right, Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale has expressed his disappointment with the performance of the Jubilee government on its first 100 days in office. He says they did not handle the teachers' strike well and has vowed to keep the president on his toes to ensure that he fulfills his promises. He made these remarks on KTN Sunrise live show with Yvonne Okwara this morning.
If I was any of those 2 gentlemen, because they are very prayerful people, they like praying, I would go and ask for prayers. They are doing so badly that even if you ask a class 6 student, he will tell you something's wrong. Why? Comparing NAC 2004 and Jubilee 2013, 100 days into office, Wamalwa Kijana and Mwai Kibaki had brought over 1.5 million children into school. Those children who had been locked out for whatever reasons because of the free primary education program. But 100 days into their tenure into office, because of their famous laptop project, in fact, let me call it infamous laptop project to the children, they have caused all the children in Kenya out of public schools. They have failed. Uhuru and Ruto have failed. If they start on that score, they are going to start rising. That the country is still in the election mood, 100 days after election, it speaks to the fact that the country is not yet satisfied that the election is over because they are not seeing the leadership that they wanted to come out of the election. So they have to work overtime. They stop behaving the way they do, putting on similar shirts, similar ties. That does not prove anything. That is, those are stunts. You know, those antiques do not improve governance. They move away from it. They move away from cameras. We would like to see the president emerging from State House when a matter of grave national importance is to be spoken to, when he's offering the way forward. But to keep on talking, I shall do, I will do, I will do. That is electioneering. It is no longer about discussing his manifesto. It is about implementation. And we want our children in school. There's so much confusion that the teachers think the strike has been called off, and yet the government is yet to open the schools. The minister closed the schools. The teachers were told to go to school. Which schools could Sosion take the teachers to? It is pathetic, and we will not support them. We will continue ensuring that we make President Uhuru unpopular until he starts doing the right thing.
Still on the Jubilee government, if a promise is as good as a debt, then today it would appear that President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto are in the red. As they sought votes in the last election, the Jubilee coalition made a to-do list, which they promised would be delivered in the first 100 days of office. Well, it's D-Day and time to take stocks. Some said it was daring, others said it was their most ambitious promise yet. But the Jubilee government promised to provide every child in Class 1 with a solar-powered laptop. Well, there are no laptops in sight, but efforts have been made by the Jubilee government to see this promise through. Cabinet earlier this month approved the implementation of the laptop computer project in schools. In fact, President Uhuru's government appears so determined to deliver on this promise that he and his deputy unequivocally rejected demands that funds allocated for the project be diverted to pay striking teachers. On maternity fees, it was on the 1st of June that the president announced that all maternity fees in all public hospitals would be abolished, and the result has been an influx in the number of women delivering in public hospitals. The president has been praised for the move, although observers say it has exposed the staffing deficit in hospitals. At the Garissa Provincial Hospital, for example, there are only 12 maternity nurses catering for the reported 9 to 10 deliveries daily. Another one of the 100 promises was free healthcare. The president had pledged the abolition of fees at all public dispensaries and health centers. 100 days later, there has been no mention of this promise or any policy going forward to realize it. In addition to free healthcare, the Jubilee coalition had promised that in their 100 days of office, all local health centers would be stocked with drugs and equipment necessary to treat all Kenyans. This still remains a promise. In terms of education, in an effort to better the quality of education in Kenya, the Jubilee government envisioned the passage of a law within the first 100 days. And they said that this would see all persons under the age of 18 enrolled in a school or even a training institution. This is yet to happen. It should be noted that in his 100 days, free primary education was the greatest achievement for former President Kibaki's government, as 7.5 million children were enrolled in school, up from the previous 5.9 million. In terms of youth, the Jubilee Coalition's campaign was laced with overtones of how the youth would benefit. As part of their 100-day promise, Jubilee said that they would pass legislation to operationalize a youth empowerment program. There are those who have come to the president's defense, however, saying it would be unfair to compare him to previous regimes, given that he has the task of implementing a new constitution, a task that only first President Jomo Kenyatta was faced with. There's also another school of thought which says that a promise is a promise, and his delivery of these pledges, or lack thereof, is a measuring stick of what his 5 years will look like. Boni Tunya.
Right, and of course, KTN will continue to audit those very promises, and if indeed they've been met. Elsewhere, celebratory events of Mandela Day are taking place around the world and in South Africa as Nelson Mandela spends his 95th birthday in hospital. South Africans will dedicate 67 minutes to charity in honor of Mandela's 67 years in serving the public. KTN's Asha Mwelu reports.
The preparations for Mandela Day took the whole week, and finally, South Africa's D-Day is here. The United Nations marks Mandela Day every year on his birthday. Today, an ailing Nelson Mandela turns 95. Even though the former president will spend his birthday in a hospital bed, South Africans are planning to make the most out of it.
It's very important to me as a daughter to be able to uphold my father's legacy and get involved in any way. I think it's a beautiful gift that we can give him.
Having been able to share him with this country, with this continent, with the world, is really been, a bit overwhelming.
Tiba kula! Kula Mandela, kula!
Over the years, the anti-apartheid icon has celebrated his birthday alongside children, inspiring South Africans to embrace public service in their lifestyles. In his honor, each South African is expected to dedicate 67 minutes of their day to give back to the community. This would represent the 67 years Nelson Mandela gave to public service. Children in particular have this year been on the forefront of celebrating Mandela's life and legacy. And the Mandela fever is spreading across the globe, with most countries holding their mini versions of Mandela Day.
What he's gone through, nobody can repay him back what he's done, and all of his hard struggles and stuff, we should never forget that, and only because of him we are now living in this world with peacefully and harmony. Nelson Mandela is like a second father to everybody, and he has done so much for us, we don't know how to repay him.
As the celebrations continue across South Africa and the world, a renewed hope for Mandela's recovery is sweeping over the nation. The presidency's most recent statement claims Mandela's health is gradually improving, even though he remains critical but stable. Asham Wilu, KTN, live at 1.
Right, it is a bittersweet moment for the world as Nelson Mandela marks the turn of another year. And even as he spends yet another week in hospital, as the world celebrates the icon, though, we ask, how much do we know about Mandela? For example, did you know, that his birth name Rolihlahla, which means to pull a branch of a tree or a troublemaker? From early on, Mandela was considered a troublemaker, especially after he refused to marry a bride selected for him to go off into Joburg to study law. His friends say part of the reason he refused to marry was the girl was because she wasn't a looker. Mandela is a man of many talents and loved to box. In fact, he picked up it while living with his then mentor, Walter Sisulu, who kept fit and later developed the liking for ballroom dancing while he was first introduced to him at Fort Hare University in the Eastern Cape. Mandela also had a blossoming relationship with his first wife, Winnie Mandela. Anecdotes of how he met Winnie suggest that they hit it off immediately, and he later taught her how to drive. On their first date, Winnie Mandela seemed to enjoy curry so much she later learned how to make it. While in prison, Mandela wrote a letter to a friend thanking him for teaching him to eat and enjoy curry. I bet now you know a little bit about Nelson Mandela even as we celebrate his 95th birthday. Edith?
Back home, IEBC's meeting with the Legal Affairs Committee on the National Assembly has been adjourned prematurely after Commission members refused to take oath before testifying on the results of the March general election that they presented before the committee. The Justice and Legal Affairs Committee is accusing IEBC of mischief, saying they will not interrogate the commissioners if not under oath. It is unclear why IEBC commissioners refused to take oath. The meeting was adjourned to Tuesday next week. Let's now take a short commercial break. Rolihlahla.
Rolihlahla. There you go.
You said it so passionately.
After this short break, we'll be talking about fair trade and why you need to be buying products that have been ethically produced. Stay tuned. Knocked you out.
I saw that.
Welcome back to the program. We'll jump straight into our afternoon business chat. Now, you might have known of the KBS standard mark of value on products, but there's yet another mark that you need to be seeing on the products you're buying. That is a fair trade mark, and I'm joined by James Mwai, who is the Executive Director at Fair Trade Africa. Why exactly do I need to be seeing this mark on the products I'm buying?
Thanks, Bonnie. The reason why you need to be looking out for the fair trade mark is because you as a consumer are concerned about the ethical sourcing of your product.
Right.
You need to be concerned whether the product you're buying, has the producer of that product actually gotten a fair price for it?
Right.
In what circumstances was the product produced?
Right.
In terms of environment and social considerations. So it gives you the confidence as a consumer that your cup of tea or your cup of coffee or your cotton garments
Right.
have been produced and ethically sourced.
How different is that from KBS?
KBS is a very specific brand. It looks at the technical quality of the product.
Correct.
We go beyond that. We offer brands the opportunity to go beyond just technical qualification.
Right.
To enhance the value of the brands. In other words, the brand is communicating to its consumers with great confidence that when you consume our product, we care about the environment, we care about people, we care about the planet.
Take me through the journey of getting to have this mark on your brand.
So there are two things that need to happen. At the first end, at the market end, you need a consumer or you need a brand or a label that is concerned or that has switched or converted one of its product units into fair trade. So for example, let me give a story of Cadbury's Dairy Milk chocolate in this particular market.
Right.
So if you walk into Narkmart today, you'd find a Cadbury Dairy Milk bar with a fair trade mark.
Right.
So the conversation starts in Europe by our colleagues who are very passionate about fair trade going and communicating to this particular brand. Then the brand says, yes, we're interested, we need to source cocoa, and we want to source cocoa from Africa. Then on the cocoa production end, you come and find a group of producers, cooperative or a number of producing units who have sufficient volumes to be able to satisfy the market demand for a particular product. So you certify the producer group that they are producing ethically, and you certify the brand that they are trading and sourcing ethically.
Right. Question would be, what benefit does it benefit me as a manufacturer to have this? I mean, I could just make my brands and distribute them.
It's really about differentiation.
Right.
Today's consumer is extremely aware and extremely concerned about where the product and under which circumstances were those products they're consuming or products that they're wearing manufactured or processed. I mean, a very good example in the news recently was the disaster in Bangladesh.
Right.
As a result of that disaster, consumers are more aware. They're asking themselves, okay, I'm looking smart in my suit, but are the people who made my suit still alive? Or, for example, I'm consuming tea or coffee, but is the person who's producing that tea or coffee getting a fair price for tea or coffee? You and I are often 2 generations away from a farmer, either our grandfather or our father. So we know what the circumstances are at the production level.
All right. Final question. This is a fairly new thing in Kenya. Why should Kenyan manufacturers care?
It is not very new in Kenya because we've been exporting to the West for a long time. What is new is that because of the growth of the Kenyan market, because of the growth of the middle class, and also because we've had great success with this in South Africa, we are now producing in Kenya for consumption in Kenya. And therefore, if you want to differentiate yourselves on the supermarket shelf as a manufacturer, as a brand, you need to come and get the fair trade mark.
Right. I'd love to have this conversation more, but we have to cut it there to take to sports with Edith Kimani. But now you know why you need a fair trade mark in your product.
Look for the mark.
All right, let's have a look at sports. 4 gold medals, 3 silver and 4 bronze is what the Kenyan youth team brought after the 8th edition of the World Youth Championships in Ukraine, making Kenya the Africa's top-ranked nation, finishing 2nd overall. Kiptobi Watt was a 1500 gold medalist, breaking the world youth record, as Roseflin Chepngetich was crowned 2000-meter steeplechase winner. Lilian Kasait and Alfred Kipketer also bagged gold in their respective races, aiding Kenya in finishing 2nd ahead of Ethiopia, who were 3rd with 8 medals. Kenya successfully defended the girls' 3000-meter steeplechase title won by Nora Jeruto, and the youth team are hoping to keep Kenyan athletics high on the world map in coming races. Well, congratulations to the junior athletics team. Elsewhere, Mary Gathoni won the 3rd edition of the National Ladies Gaddies Golf Tournament held at Limuru Country Golf Club as she came good against 75 participants from all over the country. In the past national championships and the prestigious Kenya Open Golf Tournament has been dominated by men. Now, this development looked out, locked out women, and in an effort to ensure that women do not lag behind, a tournament was set up. In this year's championship, Gathoni from Sigona Golf Club reigned supreme with gross points of 86 with handicap 20. Defending champion Anne Wanjiku from Thika was 2nd with 89 points, while Dorcas Modoni from Vetlab came in 3rd with 90 points. Plans are currently underway for the formation of a national women's golf union for caddies. And in South Africa, Bafana has been knocked out of the COSAFA Cup tournament after a 5-3 penalty shootout to defeat hosts Zambia in a semi-final match played at the Levi Mwanawasa Stadium in Ndola, Zambia. Both sides were tied after 0-0 after extra time of a match played on Wednesday night.